I think that this will be a lot more interesting if we have this, like, this part where we're just being idiots as the outro, since we don't really have anything for that.
Oh, believe me, I already have that planned. It'll be great. It's gonna be the best outro of all time, ever, never. Don't tell anybody I said that.
All right, I'll let you tell everybody you said that in the outro.
It rhymed. Rap God. Rap God. Welcome everybody to In Search of Gay Shit. I am your host today, Dino Mora. With me I have, as always, my co-host, Lane Bartlett. Lane, why don't you go ahead and say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Alright, beautiful, perfect, generic as shit. Let's get right into it. So,
for our first order of business, here's my suggestion. You ready for this?
Oh yeah? Lay it on me.
I've heard of this new podcast out there. They call themselves In Search of Gay Shit. I wanted to go ahead and throw down a quick review on them.
Alright, let's hear it.
So, it's these two guys, Dino and Lane, they call themselves. What kind of names are those, right?
Tell me about it.
So, they go around and they review things, right? You know, they just review whatever the fuck they want.
You know, I hear that they'll review anything.
Yeah, that's what they said. And, so, here's my problem with their podcast. Like, who the hell are these guys? Right? I mean, no one's ever heard of them before, and they think they can just come in and review shit.
No doubt, man. Honestly, they should just kill themselves, and that'd just be, problem solved right there.
I mean, honestly, they should review themselves and how shitty they are.
Really, if they don't even do that, then just what's the point, you know? Perfect. Wonderful.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Yes?
I think I just reviewed us.
Oh, shit. Anyway. Beautiful. There you go, listeners. All two of you out there got to hear that splendid bit of diarrhea that we had for you. Of course, that is setting the tone for everything that we've ever done. Let's give it a rating. What do you rate it?
The review or the podcast itself?
The podcast. Let's rate the podcast. Give it a solid out of 10 score. What would you rate it?
Out of 10, I would have to say I rate it a 69.
A 69 out of 10. Alright. I can see it. I'm going to give them, they're really putting in the effort so far. I like their effort.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting it in slowly.
Slowly but surely, it is being put in.
It's being put in slowly but surely. I'm going to give them a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Because, honestly, it's only going to go down.
Because no one else will.
Because no one else will. That's perfect. Exactly. So, first thing I wanted to talk about today. BABYMETAL put out a new album. Have you listened to it yet?
I have. I actually listened to it quite a bit at work last night.
Tell me, let's start off with the obvious angle. What is your favorite song off of BABYMETAL's new, what is it called? Metal Resistance, I believe?
Yeah, that would be it. My favorite song, I mean, as if there's any question, it's Karate.
Hell yeah. You and I, just birds of a feather right there, man.
I think that when they're saying os, it's literally the cutest thing that I've ever heard.
They are uber kawaii des, for sure. Let's see here. So the album has 12 tracks going down top to bottom. We got Road to Resistance. Any thoughts?
I don't remember all the names because I was just listening to it on my phone while I was playing. But that's the one that I believe, as I was thinking about it, I was heavily reminded of Cry for Eternity by Dragon Force.
It definitely hits a lot of Dragon Force tones, no doubt. I was gonna say notes, but tones. They're both the same thing. They're both horrible puns. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, Road to Resistance definitely has some Dragon Force-y vibes once it pulls into its first real riff. Karate, obviously, best track on the album for you and me.
Yeah, hands down. Wait a minute, I just
down.
noticed Road to Resistance 520 for the track time. Blaze it.
Really?
Yep.
Huh, on here it says 518 on the official Wikipedia page.
Wow. I downloaded this. I bought this album on Google Play, so...
Can't believe that they didn't check Wikipedia first. Make sure they got the times right. Honestly.
What a lack of professionalism.
Clearly, the ball has been dropped. Alright, song number 3, we got Awadama Fever. I'm seeing here on the Wikipedia page, it actually... If I'm reading this correctly, which I'm probably not because I can't read Japanese, that translates to bubble fever.
Huh. Interesting.
It's a pretty fast-paced song. It's a good one. I like the drum riffs at the start, the filter drums, the filter snare, or whatever it is.
Yeah, they did a few pretty interesting things on this album. Like, throughout the album, you hear a lot of the Dragon Force-y kind of really, really fast sweeping guitar and all that.
It really feels bad comparing what they're doing to Dragon Force, but it's honestly the most obvious and relatable comparison.
Right, like, I don't want people to think to themselves, because a lot of people, when they think of Dragon Force, they think of, oh, that asshole who couldn't actually play his guitar. And
exactly.
That's not what's happening here. Like, they're actually doing their shit. But that's really what it's reminiscent of.
Okay, I just want you to hold on for a second. I was looking up Dragon Force because I wanted to make sure I was up to snuff on their stuff. Mm-hmm. And as I was typing it into Google, the first response is Dragon Force space BABYMETAL. So, I guess we're not the only ones that have been having that comparison so far. Anyway, continue.
There was... I don't remember the name of the songs. Like I said, I didn't have time to look at the song names as I'm working. But there was one that it started out, and the first thing I thought to myself is, what the fuck, is this Sandstorm?
Sandstorm. Oh. Drop your doo-doo-doos in chat. It's a Twitch joke. We're not in Twitch. Get it?
I get it.
Moving down the list, we got Yava, which I believe that might have been the first one that the first one I showed you was Karate.
Yeah.
Yava actually sounds an awful lot like an Utsu P-Jam, kind of.
Yeah.
Which, I'm all down for.
Hell yeah.
He's up there in the ranks for both of us, I think.
Yep. One of my favorite artists, to be sure.
But this isn't about Utsu P, it's about BABYMETAL. Moving on, we got track number 5, Amore, which is a pretty fun moving track. You got any comments about Amore?
For specific tracks, really only Road to Resistance, Karate, and the last one, The One. So those are the only ones that, like, I was looking at my phone to see what was playing.
Ah, okay, those are the ones that stuck out. Let me see here. Up next we got Metataro, which, the first time that I was listening to the album, Metataro was just like, I was listening to it and I was like, this is such a different pace and idea compared to the rest of the album, what they were going for. And I really didn't like it the first time. But after I started listening through the album a few more times and listening to it in its place, I've really grown to like that song. It was the one that I really had any sort of issue with throughout the whole thing, but now I look forward to it whenever it's coming up,
Right, there you go. So.
The next song is called Syncopation, and I don't remember seeing that name before in my Google playlist.
Yeah, in Google Play it's From Dusk Till Dawn.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why they continue to ignore Wikipedia and their infinite knowledge. Just call them just random shit.
I mean, literally just calling them whatever they feel like.
No doubt. Up next we got GJ, exclamation point, which I can only assume stands for good job.
Makes sense to me.
Clearly, I'd struggle to understand why they would abbreviate it GJ when that's such a difficult pair of letters to pronounce. Like GG, it's got a certain cadence to it, a rhythm to it, but GJ, you have to do a hard stop there in between and then get going again.
Yeah, GG can just flow into all sorts of other things. GG noobs no re, etc.
Exactly, GG KMS, or GG KYS. There we go, got it. You wouldn't say GG and then KMS. That's full. Well, no.
I don't know. I've had a couple of times where I might say that.
That's the best that I'm ever going to do. Time to die. Up next, we got Cis Anger. It's a pretty good one. Mm-hmm. Following that, we have No Rain, No Rainbow, which is definitely probably the most ballady out of any of the songs that are on there.
Yeah. Cis Anger was it was a nice little break because it was a little bit heavier than some of the other ones. Mm-hmm. And a little bit more of, like, my style of metal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% agree with that. Cis Anger was, it's one of the ones I look forward to, but thinking about it now, in the heat of the moment, I can't remember. Oh, no, that's the one where, never mind. Anyway, moving on. No Rain, No Rainbow. The first time I listened to that, I was reminded of the cutscene from Final Fantasy X, where, it's hold on.
Where Aerith dies.
No. Where it's Tidus, I believe, and Yuna, and it's like their first like romantic scene. I don't remember what the name of that song is. It's like Suteki Dane or something.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Let me. Oh my god, it's not in here. I need to. Pretty sure that's the name of the song. It really reminded me of that, and it's definitely the most ballady out of all of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually, probably the most ballady of anything that they've ever done, really.
Yeah, I could see that.
Moving on, we have Tales of Destinies, which is I guess the math metal song. That one's really out there as far as like rhythms and such goes.
Right. Gotta have a little bit of everything.
It's fun for the whole family.
It's true.
And then we have, from Tales of Destiny, it leads into the coup de grace of the album, The One, which, in the version that we have on Google Play for us here in America, is actually in English. I don't know if that's universal. Maybe in Japan it's still in Japanese.
Yeah, I don't know. The one caveat I have to what I said earlier about karate, where it's one of the most adorable things I've ever heard,
mm-hmm.
It's also, with The One, hearing some of the English that they use, that's pretty far up there too.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, the Japanese accent going to English is moto kawaii.
And just some of the phrasing that they use, it's spot on. Just
please let me know if this is the truth. Yes, that is definitely one of the more cuter songs on the album, no doubt. But yeah, on the whole, a really, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's they touch on a lot more styles in this album, it feels like, than their last one.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of the so we should have started with this first. For those of you that don't know, BABYMETAL is a J-pop idol metal fusion band performance set.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe them.
Yeah, that many words. The more words, the better it is. I
mean, I don't think you can describe them accurately in less words. So,
thank you. But the first album that they put out, which was self-titled, just BABYMETAL, mm-hmm. was a lot more, like, you could put it almost side by side and put them together, and it was J-pop and metal.
Right.
Some of the songs a little bit more J-pop, some of the songs a little bit more metal, but there wasn't this singular idea that it looked like they were singular theme that they were pulling throughout the album.
Right.
Whereas with this one, it felt a lot more metal in places, where they were exploring a bunch of different genres of metal, and then just baby metal, the three idols. On top of that was the singers, or were the singers, or are the singers.
But metal's only one genre, okay, and it's all growling and devil music.
It is all growling and devil music. Baby metal is honestly just trash garbage. Anybody who likes it is an idiot.
Stereotypes.
So, completely. Honestly, anybody who thinks that clean vocals belong in metal should go and listen to freaking Garth Brooks or
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. If, he's even relevant anymore. I have no idea. So, what do you give it? What's your rating? Give it an out of 10 score.
I would rate it a perfect 7 out of 10. Actually, that's a lie. Just for the meme there. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. I liked it a lot. I liked, like you were saying, the exploration they did musically, and a lot more branching out. And it seems like the girls have probably taken a little bit more control of the direction of the music now that they're getting a little bit older, which is cool. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10 from me.
8.5 out of 10. You swine. You absolute disgusting piece of garbage.
I mean, I can't agree more.
I'm going to give it a 9.4. Just break the norm.
Wow.
Use 0.5s here.
Wow.
Put whatever number we want. I'm going to give it a 9.4 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I had the first issue with the one song by the Taro listening through, but honestly, just probably one of the more heavier songs on the whole album. I like the spread that they were doing as far as genres, and the finisher to the whole album is it's a really, really nice piece to listen to. I enjoy it a lot. I listen to it often.
Yeah.
I recommend all of you out there listen to it too. So, that's BABYMETAL's new album. Up next, we got... I put down that I'm going to rant for a while about Dark Souls 3.
That's true. So you have fun with that.
Yeah, so, Lane.
Yes. Dino.
How much of Dark Souls have you played?
Have I played?
Yes.
I got to the point...
Well, hold on, let's expand that definition. How much of Dark Souls have you played or seen played?
Okay, well, I'll start with played. Played, I got up to the point where you can get the katana, and then I got frustrated and stopped in Dark Souls 1.
I'm going to stop you there. There's no katana in Dark Souls. It's called the Uchigatana.
Oh my god. But, fine, whatever. Seen played, I've seen a bit of Dark Souls 1 here and there. I've seen some of the bosses that are a little bit farther along. I've watched my brother cheese the Ceaseless Discharge and other stuff like that.
Classic cheese. I love that one.
In 2, I've seen bits and pieces of some speed runs, some stuff that you've showed me here and there. I've seen the last boss. I've seen... I think I've actually seen most of the bosses just off and on over the past couple of years watching you and my brother.
Right. Yeah, there was a little short span of time there where that was basically all that we could do.
Right. I have not seen really any of Dark Souls 3, though.
Right. Do you have any intentions of going back to it, or is it something that you're...
At some point, I will summon up the will and get through it, but it's a little bit different from my style of gameplay, so I don't know when that will be, and I will probably forget anything you tell me by then.
Oh, perfect. Alright, so, with Dark Souls 3, just to give people a general view of the game compared to the other ones, let me just say that it is my great and personal honor that if this is the first time you're hearing about Dark Souls 3 from my mouth, I can probably die happy. But knowing that, I'm going to fuck it up royally, and you're probably not going to know anything about the game anyway. So, not one of the things. Dark Souls 3 happens a lot faster than any of the other Dark Souls that have happened. A lot of people feel that this is an obvious influence from Bloodborne. which was the last game that is Hide Miyazaki helped develop. Dark Souls 2 was handled by a different company, or not a different company, a different crew of developers than would handle Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls. And a lot of people didn't really like it. It came under a lot of fire for... actually, I don't know why people didn't like it. I thought that the second one was great. I just know people didn't like it. But Dark Souls 3, Miyazaki's back on the team. He's the one that's in charge of direction.
Hayao Miyazaki?
Not Hayao Miyazaki. It's Hide Taka. I don't want to say his first name because I know I'm going to mess it up. But it's Hide something. No, that's not wrong. That is wrong. There we go. Hidetaka Miyazaki. I did have it.
Sorry about the pounding there. My mouse isn't working.
Oh, fantastic. Beat it closer to the microphone, please.
I will do it just for you.
But Miyazaki's back on the team. You can definitely see that influence in a lot of the progression from zone to zone to zone.
Mm-hmm.
In Dark Souls 1, I think the best explanation I've heard for the level design of Dark Souls 1 is that the levels feel like a world was created. There's a lot of atmosphere to it. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of emotion in the different places that you go to.
Mm-hmm.
And then gameplay and character direction was taken second.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to build a world that evoked a lot of emotion first, and then they put in all these little interesting, or they put in, point A, point B, here's the boss fight, this is where the player's got to go, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with all of the other Dark Souls, or I should say with Dark Souls 2, it felt a lot like there's a little bit of branching out to begin with, but for the most part, the game can be distilled down to like a singular tunnel the player continuously walks down.
Yeah.
You beat one boss, you go down, you go down a slightly expansive map, you get to the next boss,
So it's kind of like the difference between, say, Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy XIII.
I'm not going to make any comment on Final Fantasy XIII. I haven't played it, but I'll go ahead and meet you in the middle and say that sounds like something that, if you're making that comparison, you're probably right about
just,
that.
10, obviously, after the first little bit, you can basically go do whatever you want. With 13, it was very, very linear until almost the end, and then things opened up right before you go and finish the game, basically.
I'm going to be honest, what you just described for Final Fantasy 13 sounds an awful lot like Final Fantasy 10.
It's not nearly as open. There's not nearly as much to do.
I'll tell you what, if the comparison makes sense to you, I'll let that stand.
Alright, I appreciate it. What would you rate that comparison?
I would give your comparison a solid 8 out of 10.
Thank you.
I think it really works for what you're going for. But anyway, my goodness, I've been going on about Dark Souls 1 and 2. Who gives a shit? Dark Souls 3, the branching is still there. It's more on a per zone basis. Mm-hmm. There's a few places you can branch off with, but it's certainly not like Dark Souls 1, where you can go off and become like this overpowered killing machine and just start one-shotting, like the first 3 or 4 bosses before you even do anything. Mm-hmm. That kind of exploration isn't there, but it's still... The player's still rewarded for going out and discovering shortcuts and stuff like that. That was a really big thing about Dark Souls 2, is that there were no shortcuts because it's all linear. Why do you need shortcuts? You just go from one boss to the next one.
Right.
Dark Souls 3 still makes heavy use of that in certain zones, but some of the other zones it's a little bit more like, here's the beginning, here's a bunch of stuff you can collect, enemies you can kill, and then here's the end of this zone, and then that's it. One of the things that's really come under fire, though, recently with Dark Souls 3 is the way that poise works in the game. Now, if you've played a Dark Souls game, you know how important poise is.
Right.
Dark Souls 1, poise was everything. What poise is it's your ability to take damage without being interrupted for any animation that you're about to execute.
Right.
So, for instance, just to give you an idea, heavier armor gives you more poise, lighter armor gives you less, or sometimes no poise at all.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a high amount of poise and somebody's hitting you with like a dagger continuously, they're going to have to do a lot of damage before they get staggered.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, whenever you get staggered, you can't attack them, you can't roll out of it. There's a possibility you're going to continue to get staggered and just get stuck and chain attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And in Dark Souls 1, it was a very concrete thing in the game. I'm trying to remember, I feel like poise was an explicitly mentioned stat, but it wasn't explicitly explained. Like, you could see your poise go up and down, but you couldn't go over to it and see what it did.
Yeah, from what I remember, that's what it looked like. Right.
But the way that it worked in Dark Souls 1 is that if you had a really high poise, people just straight up could not stagger you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people would... Some of the horror stories that people talk about would be like Havel's mages and stuff like that. Havel, or Havel, what have you, was an armor set that had really high poise, the highest in the game.
Mm-hmm. And
for some pieces, it was the most efficient from a poise per weight ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you would have is like some mages that would take some pieces that are good for casting and then like one or two pieces of Havels. And then against most weapons that, aren't like ultra great swords or great hammers and stuff, they could continue to cast their spells and get at you without you being able to interrupt them. But that mechanic has long since died. In Dark Souls 2, poise is still in the game, but it works a lot differently. You have poise per location.
Mm-hmm.
You have a general poise stat that goes up with level investment, depending upon what statistics you put points into. And you also have poise per location, your head, chest, hands, and feet, which is strictly dependent upon what kind of armor you're wearing there.
Gotcha.
So I can see what their attempt was with that to try and cut out the Havel's mages, quote unquote, from Dark Souls 1 by making it so that, if you wear really high poise gauntlets, which is what most of the people would wear in Dark Souls 1. If you wore gauntlets, it wouldn't really matter because if you get hit in your hands, you're probably not going to get staggered anyway.
Right.
The most important pieces you want to have high poise in Dark Souls 2 were your head and your chest, because that was where you're going to take a lot of your damage usually.
Makes sense.
And there was also... I didn't really get too big into PvP in Dark Souls 2. It was mostly just about where the speedrun scene was at and things like that, but... there was also some sort of interaction where if you were two-handing a weapon, it like doubled the amount of poise damage you did, which wasn't the normal interaction with regular damage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were power stancing, it made it even bigger, which that was just, if you could power stance some even really basic weapons, you could break people's poise, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But Dark Souls 3, the thing that's been coming under fire recently is that it appears that poise does nothing.
Huh.
It doesn't matter how much poise you have, what kind of armor you have. People are getting canceled out of animations all the time. And for a lot of people are confused. Or for a lot of time, people have been confused about it. Because From Software won't just come out and say, this is what poise does. There's an actual description in the game that says it's supposed to... it's a rating that determines how much damage you can take before you're broken out of an animation. But that's not what it does explicitly. There have been videos of people online in endgame gear with like the highest poise you can get and still getting stunned by the first or second enemies that you encounter in the game. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened recently is that somebody found in the game files where the poise was actually determined or something like that. A pointer value that determines your poise. And that was very explicitly turned off.
Huh.
So, what some people have done, or rather in the video where the person who found this demonstrates it, they go in, they turn it off, and they show the video afterwards of the person walking around in the heaviest armor in the game, and he's not getting stunned at all. It works almost exactly as it does in Dark Souls 1. And whenever that video showed up, a lot of people were very upset.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And, for a couple of weeks now, it's gone on. And very recently, I think yesterday, From Software actually made a comment about it, mentioning explicitly the video where they say, quote-unquote, that poise has been turned off. They use those words very specifically. But they claim that it's working as intended and that it's very situational. And that still doesn't really tell us a whole lot about anything about how it works. So there's just this whole debacle about why is it turned off? Why aren't they telling us? You know, there's so many things that could be handled so much more better about this situation, but that's very typical of From Software. The working joke is this a bug or a feature? The answer from Software is always yes. But yeah, that other than that, for the most part, I've been having a lot of fun with Dark Souls 3. I very recently beat the game in my first playthrough, and I'm trying to go through a New Game Plus now.
Nice.
For a lot of people out there, I know their first time through Dark Souls, they're all, or for any playthrough that they do on Dark Souls, they're, all about the machismo of like, oh, I don't summon anybody. I beat all the bosses solo. If you can't do it, if you summon to beat any boss, then you didn't really beat Dark Souls. But personally, for me, I always see what Dark Souls has to offer as quickly as possible. I want to experience it for myself firsthand without getting spoiled before it's everywhere on the internet.
Yeah.
So for all the bosses, I summoned, I beat through it, and going through a New Game Plus, there's like no summons. So it's a real challenge for me now trying to get through it with everything being harder and also having no help. So it's a completely different experience. It's really fun to enjoy. Yeah, I'm enjoying Dark Souls 3. Give it a 9.5 out of 10. It would be a 10 out of 10 if From Software would just tell us what the hell
what the deal is.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Dark Souls 3 right now. I'm sure we'll have more news in the future. Maybe once they tell us what anything does. 10 years from now, whenever we're on Dark Souls 5. But you have something you want to bring up, right?
I do.
It is time for Lane's Mystery Review.
Da, 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 da. Yes, listeners, it is time for everyone's favorite segment of the show, Lane's Mystery Reviews. Today, for you, I would like to give my thoughts on the Doomstar Requiem, a clock opera.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a continuation of the Metalocalypse story, which I know you and I both kind of fell off after the second season of Metalocalypse. I, of course, was a huge fan of the first season, as you are well aware, having been there when that was a thing.
Oh yeah, we've probably watched it, all the episodes, dozens, if not even hundreds of times at this point.
At least dozens, and, back in the day, it kind of looked like Nathan Explosion. I had that...
It's true. Listeners, it's true. He actually looked like Nathan Explosion. He wore the black shirt and everything.
Yep, and I was just as fat. But had the watch with the spikes on it that we called the Death Clock. It was a good time.
My God, I've forgotten about that thing. Please don't ever talk about it again.
So, before I go into the Doomstar Requiem, like I said, Dino and I both were big fans of Season 1 of Metalocalypse. It was one of my favorite shows for a good long while, and had a lot of fun with it. Musically, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. And Brendan Small's very talented, and he did all of the music, drums, bass, everything for it. Very low budget for the first season as well, so it was actually pretty impressive, all things considered.
Yeah, honestly, whenever we first heard about that, we were just like, really? No, there's no way. One person did all of that? That's amazing,
And then, so the first season ends on a really high note. My favorite song that they ever produced is in the last one, and it's all this big epic. Most of the episodes were only 10 minutes long. This one was 20 and change, so it was a big deal. And then the second season comes around, and musically still very good, but the content of the show itself dropped off dramatically, and I was not really happy about it. I watched all of the second season, didn't even touch the third season when it came out, and I feel like there was a fourth, but don't quote me on that because I haven't even looked to verify because of how disgusted I was after a while. But the Doomstar Requiem was brought to my attention by our wonderful host here, Dino Mora.
Thank you.
He showed it to us one night while we were working together, and I actually enjoyed it a lot, and I just went and I was thinking about it yesterday for some reason, and went ahead and bought it, and one of the better investments I've ever made, that whole $10. It's set up as the name implies, like a rock opera. If you watch the video for it and don't just listen to the soundtrack, all of the dialogue is done in the songs. There's a lot of there's actually a good bit of character development that goes on that you hadn't really seen too much before. A lot of the episodes were just non sequitur bullshitting with some loose story tied in. So this actually puts a little bit more direction to the story, which is cool. Musically, it's a lot of fun. They go through all sorts of different styles throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, I believe they even have Toki Wartooth. He sings a few of the songs.
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
They actually every member of the band has a song at least, or appears in a song. A couple of the other characters will have parts in there as well. Their manager sings. Nathan's girlfriend has a song, and it's a good time. So, in the beginning, it's I don't want to go too big into the story in case anyone hasn't heard about it. Although it was released like 2.5 years ago now, so
yeah, it'll be a constant theme with us. We're very timely.
Yes. Definitely the word I would use to describe us.
On time also works. Relevance is another good word for that.
Yeah, relevance is one of the cornerstones of our podcast. It is one of our core tenets that we strive to always adhere to.
Exactly.
So basically it starts out almost an overture style song, setting the tone for the rest of the experience, if you will. Loosely, the premise is Toki gets kidnapped by Magnus, who is their former bandmate, and the assassin with the silver mask, who's appeared several times throughout the show. And it's
honestly, after I can't confirm, by the way, that there is a season 3 and season 4. But whenever I saw that, I was very surprised that he was still around.
Yeah, I would have expected them to have killed him by that point.
Actually, I'm sure that you'll mention it at some point, but there are a lot of things that happen in this that if you hadn't seen the other 2 seasons, like us, you only saw 1 and 2, are actually very jarring.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, going back to where we left off, it's about the next song goes into how they're handling Toki being gone, and of course they're trying to pretend they don't care. And eventually, they decide that as a band, they are going to go and rescue Toki from this assassin. Mm-hmm. And so it's a pretty interesting journey going through all this. The songs are overall pretty hilarious, about what you would expect from if you had been a big fan of the first season of the show. It's the level of humor that you would have been disappointed was lacking in the second season and forward.
Completely agree.
My favorite quote from all of these songs from Nathan Explosion: "How can I be a hero when my dick is big as a shoe?" So
that is a good one. That one threw me for a loop whenever I had a good guffaw after that one came up. That was pretty.
But yeah, and then from a musical perspective, I play it being a guitarist. I've been playing guitar since I was 13, and metal's always been my jam. So musically, I was very impressed with a lot of what happens in this, and that's a lot of my draw to it.
Yeah, no doubt. Brandon, I'm sorry, Mr. Small, really blew it out of the water with this one. I was very impressed with what he was able to pull off.
And at the end of the album, that last riff, the main riff that carries it out through the end, it's so simple, but it's just so epic. And a lot of the music in this there's obviously some amazing sweeping guitar solos that he's known for. There's a guitar duel between Squizgar and Toki that's really intense to listen to.
Yeah, I love that part. Yeah,
and that one, I'm glad that they did that, because there was one of the things that pissed me off in season 2 was the episode where they're like, yeah, Toki never even learned how to play guitar. So
really, I don't remember that. Huh.
Yeah, it was really disappointing to see that. But this seeing Toki come in and actually rock it out with Squizgar it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's just like a lot of the things that they do though are so simple, but just so. Anyone who's a fan of Between the Buried and Me will notice the same trend in a lot of their music. They take sometimes the most simple riffs, but the way that they build it up, they turn it into something way more epic than you would ever think from like 3 or 4 notes you could do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Doomstar Requiem. And, Dino, feel free to weigh in here, because I know that you're familiar with it as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. The first time I ever saw it, I probably watched it probably 10 times within the next 4 days. I could not get enough of it. I was so impressed. Especially, the biggest thing for me was that, like you, I really enjoyed seasons 1 and 2, but seasons 3 and 4 were just such a disappointment. I can remember coming back to it at one point and seeing that on Adult Swim, they had it for half-hour segments at that point. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Good for him, man. He was able to work up, enough story and plot to flesh out these characters and keep it relevant and interesting for a whole, what is it, 26, 24 minutes, whenever they do it in a half-hour block.
Yeah, something like that.
No. It was just shite. It was just... I think it was like a Christmas one, and it ended with, like, the clown, Dr. Roxo.
Yeah.
The clown doing Squizgar's mom, and like that was the joke or something. It was just like this is just so not funny. Like it almost felt cringy, kind of the way that
some of the things, like even in the second season, there were a couple of episodes where it's just like, this isn't even funny at all. This is just going for shock value, and it's not even that shocking.
Yeah, that's how I felt. But then after coming back, I don't even remember how it is that I had heard about it, that he had done a rock opera. I think it must have been something that was brought to my attention through like Google News, but I had heard about that and I was like, let me give it a shot. I'm a pretty big fan of rock operas, goofy stuff like that, and I'm sure that Brendan could rock something pretty good at it if he put his mind to it at this point. And I was really pleasantly surprised whenever I went back to that, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot. I still watch it every now and again to this day. It's I'm pretty happy with it.
On an interesting note, before the podcast, Dino and I were discussing just life in general and stuff like that, and I started working on writing a little bit of music again for the first time in a while, and this is actually, listening to this is what kind of got my mind, got the gears turning for that again. So, not only is it really funny and good music, it's pretty inspirational if you're...
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It's a pretty inspirational piece, the way that it progresses through the plot and everything. Yeah, it's inspirational. I would definitely say that.
Yeah, so that being said, I would give this one a solid 9.5 out of 10. Definitely would recommend that you guys check it out.
Man, what's with all the high scores? Do we only review things we like? What the hell?
That's probably what we're going to do for a little while.
Yeah, I totally agree. 9.5 out of 10 hits it right on the mark. There's a... no, I'm gonna go the whole 9 yards. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. It was perfect.
Damn.
From what I can see, it actually is the capstone to the Metalocalypse series. I don't think he's done anything else since then.
I would like to see a little bit more come from this, because the end it's just like the end of season 1, where it ended on such a high note with so much promise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a part of me is a little worried that it's going to jump the shark like season 2 did, but
Right.
if he can continue what he started here, it would be amazing to see what else he can come up with.
Yeah, I agree. But, yeah, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think it was, so far, assuming nothing ever happens after this, it was definitely probably the best way that the series could have gone out. The best note that they could have gone out on. I definitely think that's they hit all the right notes with that one.
Yeah, I agree. For sure.
So, moving on, let's talk about... yes, of course. So, Lane, have you heard about this game that all the young kids are playing?
All the young kids. I am hip and happening with the young kids. Don't take that the wrong way.
All of the lovely children that enjoy this podcast, this heaping gob of utter shite, all of the kids enjoy playing this new game called Pokemon.
Pokemon. I think I've heard of that before.
Yeah,
Is that the one where they digivolve the little creatures?
Yeah, they digivolve, and other memes that I can't think of right now. Let's they fight with the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Anyway, so Pokemon had some new news come out. They some news came out for the newest editions of Pokemon Sun and Moon. They revealed the box art for the 2 versions, which has, of course, the legendaries on them, as almost every other version has had.
Yep.
And they revealed the 3 starters and their names and typings and stuff like that. Straight off the bat, which version are you getting? Do you know?
I'll probably go with Sun, because I like the design of the lion-looking guy there.
I agree with you. I'm honestly torn. I'm gonna have to wait until more info comes out.
Yeah,
I really,
definitely.
Really.
But my first inclination, just looking at what's out so far, is to go with Sun.
Yeah, I would have to say that I'm gonna have to lean towards Sun as well. The design for that legendary is he's so majestic looking, and honestly, there really haven't been any good lions in the entire spanning series of Pokemon, as strange as that sounds.
Yeah, as far as I know, the only one that they have is Pyroar, and the normal fire typing on that just...
There's Pyroar, and what was that one from the 4th generation? The electric type. What was it?
That was Luxray. I always felt Luxray was more like a panther, though.
A panther?
Yeah.
Wow, what is this? Some sort of freaking etymology podcast?
Yeah, that's probably our...
That's probably the wrong one. What the fuck does etymology mean?
Probably about 10% of what we do here, naming creatures and...
Etymology, the study of the origin of words. Yeah, that's totally what I was talking about. Great going, idiot. Anyway. Yeah, they don't have enough... Well, I don't know. The legendary dogs aren't lions. They had Entei up, and I was just like, man, Entei looks pretty lion-like. But that's completely false.
Yep.
And then the other one looks kind of like a bat, but people have been throwing around this idea that it sort of represents like a dream catcher almost. And that is,
yeah, I can see that. I did kind of get that impression as well.
I could see there being elements of a dream catcher in its design, but that it is explicitly representative of dream catchers is a little bit ridiculous when the other is clearly a lion.
Yeah, I don't think that it's reasonable to say that it is a dream catcher type Pokemon.
Yeah, I would be incredibly surprised if that was how the news came out. Definitely leaning towards Sun, though. The interesting thing is, Sun, obviously, fire typing's going to be in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. We all know that. Moon, it's a little bit up in the air. Is it going to be fairy type?
Dark type?
Ice type?
Who knows?
Dark type? Yeah, that would make sense in contrast to Sun. Who knows? So, definitely looking forward to more news coming out for that. But in addition to that, we also have the new starters. It's going down the list here. We have the first one, the grass type, Rowlet, which is an owl Pokemon. It is grass flying. Up next, we have Litten. It's lit, fam. A fire
that
type.
That kitten is lit.
That kitten is lit as fuck, fam. A fire type, cat looking Pokemon, maybe like a tabby or something. And then we have the disgusting Poplio. Some sort of seal amoeba.
It's a sea lion. They say.
It says sea lion. All I think is just. Bleh.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Obviously, we don't know the full evolutionary line. We've seen some pretty amazing things come out of some pretty shit starters. Although there was that one time for years that fire was just firefighting.
Yeah, it looks like they're not going to take it that direction again, and obviously that's just a guess based off of the color scheme, but right. I'm really hoping that is not what they do here. Yeah,
let's take some stabs. Okay, so going down the line, we got Rowlet. We know what typing it is right now, grass flying. They could pull a complete curveball and just say the ending evolution is like grass rock or something like that.
Right.
I sincerely doubt that they're going to do that, but I'm betting that it's just going to stay grass flying.
That would be my guess as well. I mean, if it's an owl, it'd be pretty unreasonable for it to just all of a sudden drop the flying type. I mean, they've done stranger things, but
have they really though?
I mean, have you seen some of the Pokemon they come out yet?
I mean, some of them are weird, but I don't know. There still is only one fire water Pokemon, and there's no fire grass. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have Litten next. My bet is that the final type is probably going to be Fire Dark.
Yeah, judging by the color scheme, so for anyone who hasn't looked this up and doesn't really feel like going through the effort to look it up,
shame on you, first of all.
Yes.
Don't be lazy. That is a sin, and sinners,
go to hell.
Cool as fuck and smoke pot all day.
So primarily the color scheme here is the cat is black and it's got red stripes on it. So it would seem to imply that eventually dark type is going to be involved there, which would be really cool. They had the water dark last time around. I'd like to see a fire dark type. There's not enough of those.
It would be interesting. Fire Dark existing only in the Houndour or Houndoom evolutionary line. No other Fire Dark Pokemon exists, to my knowledge.
As far as I'm aware.
And finally, we have Poplio. I swear, if this ends up being another water ice, I'm going to rip out my own eyes.
Another water ice or another water steel.
Well, honestly, water steel would be fine. There aren't enough water steels, personally.
Yeah, I mean, they did do that not very long ago, though. I would like to, for a starter, I would like to see something else.
Exactly, and that's where the issue comes in. If they do another water steel, they've already done that. Water steel will be the new firefighting,
And we all know how that went.
Right, but I don't know. I could see it remaining a pure water type, maybe. God, I don't want it to be, but I could see water ice. I really hate that.
Yeah, it's such a common type combination. It's such an easy type combination too. So
right, it's like normal flying. It's just it feels like there's no imagination to it. It feels so lazy.
Right.
And I mean, honestly, look at Poplio. The whole entire design just oozes sad. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope that they turn it around. And yeah, if we're doing first impressions here, I say that from what I can see now, definitely I would be choosing Litten out of these.
Oh, hell yeah, Litten. Definitely. It's going to be named It's Lit Fam, and I'm going to have so much fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, so far from what we've seen, there's really not a whole lot of other information out. There's obviously the two legendaries. They do have...
We don't even know their names yet. They're still just ambiguous box art Pokemon.
They do have one legendary type revealed. What is this thing's name? Magearna?
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 Because it makes mention of magic or something somewhere.
Yeah. I'll go with that one. It's a steel fairy type. It's
basically steel Diancie, more or less.
Yeah,
is what it looks like.
Its classification is an artificial Pokemon, and the details that they have say that it was made by human hands. So, if If I had to guess, I would say this is probably meant to be a man-made version of Diancie, but, who knows?
Yeah, I could actually see that as a story tie-in, but honestly, haven't they done Pokemon that are made by people enough at this point?
Yeah, Mewtwo kind of handled that.
I'm glad that they keep, well, not even like Mewtwo, Deoxys, Magneton, other goofy shit like that. There's so many of them at this point. It's just like, is this the only artificial Pokemon? Surely there's others.
Right.
They couldn't come up with a more specific or better backstory for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree there.
I understand on one hand that there's like 750 of them and it's hard to make new shit all the time, but really it's basically just steal Diancie. That's just kind of sad.
There are some tropes that I could really do without having repeated.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, that's the news that came out this week. Definitely, Lane and I are on the Sun team with Litton.
Yep.
If anybody was listening to this is the point where I would ask, please write in the comments what your type starter that you're going with is. And that's not going to happen, clearly, because I'm the only one that's ever going to listen to this.
Kecking intensifies.
Kecking intensifies, indeed. My God, where are we? Alright, so, up next, we have a bit about Diablo 3. For those of you who are more relevant and... what's the word that I'm looking for? For those of you that...
Hip and happening.
Diablo 3 is a 10-year-old game that has to be always online and is boring and sucks, and nobody likes it. That's a joke. Diablo 3 recently came out with Season 6. I was surprised to hear. They just started that up on a few weeks ago. And the big deal with Season 6 is that as you're completing different objectives of the season, there are, I think it's like 40 in total. The season itself is broken down into 4 chapters, and as you complete some of the later ones, it gives you actual pieces of set gear.
Interesting. Which
allow you to get one of your characters further along faster in a more guaranteed fashion, I guess I could say. Or I guess I should say. This only works per account, so if you level up, if you get there's 3 different drops, and they all contain 2 to 3 pieces of set gear, totaling 7. And if you get all 7 pieces on one character, doing it again on another character won't get you anything. It's just per account. Mm-hmm. The idea being that Blizzard was trying to bring in people who haven't played Diablo in a while and trying to give veterans something interesting to come to this season. Completing all objectives gets you the full set of class gear, and in addition you get an exclusive portrait frame and an exclusive pennant. I didn't know this. So you and I have played Diablo 3 before in the past.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
I believe we played and did season characters, and it was season 2 or something?
Yeah, I want to say it was season 2 that we played in. That resonates right in my brain there. Season
2 was, I want to say, like, maybe 2014, maybe? It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Coming back to Diablo 3, there was a lot of overwhelming stuff. Well, I shouldn't say overwhelming. It was very, you could handle it pretty easily. But one of the things that they had added were a few things. First off, they added a customizable cosmetic thing called Wings, which is just more or less, hey, I paid Blizzard some money for something else that isn't Diablo related, usually, and here's my proof that I did it in this game. Blizzard has been more and more almost this platform for releasing games rather than a games company, and they like to make sure that everybody has all of their games connected in as many reasonable ways as possible, especially with these cosmetic items.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no real way to obtain them in-game without buying something outside, so it's kind of like an exclusive thing. It's a little bit frustrating coming back and seeing that, be like, oh, I wish I could have gotten some. But
Yeah, I can understand that.
Another thing that they've added is they don't call them pets. What are they called? Minions or something? I don't want to call them minions. God, no. Please don't call them.
Don't ever say that word again if you want to live.
Please kill me if I bring it up. But they have pets now, which you can only obtain. Well, there are a few, I believe, that you can obtain by purchasing. They're available exclusive through other purchases, much like the wings. But a lot of them are obtainable through the game. And the only avenue that I found of obtaining pets reliably is from a specific type of treasure goblin that spawns.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only gotten like 4 to spawn. No, yeah, 4 to spawn so far. I have 4 pets, and there's like I've seen at least 10 different ones. Let me do some on-site research and vanity pet list and other cosmetics. So, from what I'm seeing here, this list is telling me nothing. It almost doesn't look like there's a list of all the pets, because it seems like they just don't want you to know. Skills that carries. No, that's not what I want to look at.
They don't want you to know what pets you can get. That's classic Blizzard.
Exactly. Maybe minions? I have no idea. I can't seem to find anything about this because I'm using the wrong nomenclature for what they're called, because pets were something that existed in the game already. Followers? No, that's not it. My God, what is it? I have all this info for like Diablo 1 and 2, and it's not helping me at all because I don't care about those games. Those are old. My God, I can't believe that this is so difficult to find. Anyway, it's not important. There's probably billions of them, and Blizzard just won't tell you. You know, there's probably like one that's slightly a different color magenta than the other one.
Right.
Or one that glows, I'm sure.
One that's a reskin of a reskin of a reskin.
Exactly. You know, classic Blizzard. Anyway, the pets thing is interesting, is that I didn't know this. It doesn't mention it explicitly in their description of them, I don't think. I didn't look very hard. It should clarify that. That they run around and collect gold for you as you're running. So, you know, you can just be blowing through a dungeon and not have to worry about losing any gold.
That's cool.
So that's an interesting thing. I was glad that that wasn't gated exclusively behind a paywall, more or less.
Like 90% of everything else Blizzard does.
Exactly. But other than that, it coming back was sort of like a breath of fresh air, you know. Whenever we played before, I had played a monk, and this was post, what are they called, Reaper of Souls, so I had access to all of the skills and runes and stuff like that. And coming back in, I played a monk again, you know, because it's my favorite class to play as, and it was very refreshing to come back. The set piece that I got made it so that I played a lot differently than I normally would have, which was interesting. You know, the set itself, I believe, existed prior to this season, so it's not like it's something that you couldn't have done before. But being able to get a full 7-piece set, I would imagine was. I know that there's people who like farm on like Torment 10 or whatever, and I'm sure that the legendary drop rate is just astronomical at that point. But for us plebes that are down still on like Torment 4 and stuff, the legendaries are few and far between, and so getting full sets, I would imagine, would have been a pretty difficult task if you were around my level at that time.
Gotcha.
But running around in a full set, it's very fun, it's very empowering, and it makes the grinding feel a little bit less soul-rending. So, overall, I would recommend it. If you used to play Diablo and you're a fan, or you used to play Diablo 3 and you're a fan of it, it's a good time to come back and get back into it. Get back up to farming status, I believe, is the colloquial term.
The common nomenclature.
Exactly. And you know, get yourself some gear. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really understand the difference between playing a seasonal character and a non-seasonal, other than the obvious stuff where they have explicitly different loot caches and explicitly different paragon levels and stuff like that. Are they competing against each other? I've never felt like I was competing against other people.
Yeah, I don't know. I only played for the one season, and yeah, it was fun for a minute, but I never felt like there was any competition or any like it didn't really even feel like there was very much specific reward to doing that season at the time, and that just might have been because it was early on, but...
Yeah, that's definitely changed now. So, if I remember correctly, there wasn't actually anything specific about the season. It was just, this one is a seasonal character, this one is not. But now, they're very explicitly laid out, like, tasks that you complete. They're listed, the progression manner. Get to level 60, level up all your, artisans. Get to level 70, level up on artisans again. Kill this thing on Torment 4 or higher, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's very, you get rewards for completing different ones. A lot of those don't happen until the very last of them. But you do get rewards for completing stuff that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise, normally. Mm-hmm. But yeah, all in all, it's a fun time. I have spent a lot of hours just mindlessly running around while I half pay attention to YouTube videos and stuff like that. It's a good time. Good time. Lane, do you have something else for us? Or?
I do have. I've actually got 2 more things that shouldn't take a whole lot of time individually.
All right.
So for my second piece today, I would like to review the rework of Taric in League of Legends.
Oh, nice. I've heard of that game before.
Yeah, it's a pretty shitty game where 5 people run around on either team calling each other faggots and losers. But for some reason,
everyone
I like to play it
sucks,
anyway.
And no one is good at that game except for me.
It is
me and Faker.
It is true. My brother actually beat Faker in 1v1. It was a good time.
Oh wow! Did he get it on video?
No, unfortunately. You know how these things go. Faker didn't want to be videotaped being defeated so thoroughly.
Classic Faker. Anyway.
So let me log in here so that I can actually give the names of all of these moves as we go. So
again, just wanted to reiterate to all the listeners out there, very timely.
Very, very timely. This one is actually fairly current. It's only like a couple of months old, I think.
Oh wow, only a couple of months.
Actually, no, it's not even a couple of months old. God, I'm so bad at time.
How old is it? Is it a couple months, couple years? Did we lose some time?
I mean,
Who's president?
Might have been 5 minutes ago, for all I know.
Oh god.
So, to start off, for anyone who doesn't know, Taric has existed in League of Legends since very early on, and he was known as the Gem Knight originally. His character was very over the top. There was an armor skin that you could get called Armor of the Fifth Age that was all pink, and it was terrifying to look at, and it was wonderful.
Those are definitely the 2 best words to describe Fifth Age Taric. Terrifying and wonderful. Definitely. I agree.
So, since his rework, he is now known as the Shield of Valoran. They gave him... He is almost completely different in the way he looks now, other than he still obviously carries the hammer and he's got gems floating around him, because how could you not have gems in Taric? They gave him a V-neck that goes down to about the middle of his abdomen now, so you can see his very, very pronounced pecs. No nipple, unfortunately.
It's so obvious. Why didn't he launch with a V-neck?
And on an interesting note, I will say that League of Legends, actually, Riot came out with a little statement about it. On the public test realms, when they were doing the rework, people kept saying they wanted the V-neck to go lower. So Riot actually lowered the V-neck even more from where they originally had it. So props to them. I think it's a very, very good touch.
If they've done nothing else right, they got that one.
He's got a very, very strong jaw now, clean shaven, and honestly, if you were to see this man walking down the street, you would be intimidated by how
you wouldn't be
manly
able
he
to.
is.
The flocks of women just blot out the sun. You wouldn't be able to see anything.
I mean, if his gaze met yours, you
would crumple to ash.
You would have no choice but to just collapse and you would know unequivocally you will never be as perfect as this man is.
I agree.
So on another interesting note, touching on my favorite skin again, Armor of the Fifth Age. Obviously, it still exists, but has been reworked since then. His armor now has pink fur on it. He's no longer...
I actually haven't seen this. It really has pink fur.
Yes. It no longer is a V-neck. It is now a vest that is with no shirt underneath it, so you can see his overwhelming 8-pack abs.
Okay, hold on. Keep going. I want to see. I haven't looked at this.
The smug smile on his face is the look of a man who knows that in spite of how flamboyantly he is dressed, he will always have more women flocking to him than you. And
oh my god,
I think that is the best description I can come up with for that. Honestly, is really, I don't think there are words.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. I just want to stop you for a second. I believe, looking at the Armor of the Fifth Age Taric. He's got that smug look. He's still... Oh, I see what you mean. It's not a V-neck shirt. It's a V-neck vest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't this fucking
my God.
amazing to look at?
He is truly the pinnacle of anything that Riot will ever do. His boots have... It's like he's going to some sort of... It's like he's the leader of a rave.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think even in the background, you can see they have the goofy Daft Punk Sona, the $30 skin or whatever in the back. He actually is at a rave.
That is exactly
That's what's
what it
happening
looks
right
like.
now. Oh my... You can see in the bottom right, there's somebody taking a picture of him.
It's...
My God.
It is... It's beautiful, and if anyone hasn't looked at it, you really should. And
that is, honestly, the best thing that they have ever done, hands down. That is perfect. I can't believe I missed that.
So, not only is the physical aspects of the rework, the character changes and all that, really good. His new kit is actually pretty intense as well. I actually only played him for the first time today since the rework. Let me pull up my match history before I get into his kit here. That way I can tell you about this. My first game with him, I went 5-9 and 31, and I was playing with my brother who played Lucian, and he went 23-11 and 9.
A successful game, to be sure.
Now I will put out there that I am a Bronze Bucket Scrub Lord. My brother's in Silver. He's had a lot more time to mess with this than I have lately. But we did go on after that game, and we played a ranked game. And in that second game, I went 6-6-34, and he went 25-10-13, and we pretty thoroughly crushed our opposition on that game.
Amazing.
So his new kit, his passive is called Bravado. Anytime he casts a spell, his next 2 basic attacks deal bonus magic damage, reduce his spell cooldowns, and have increased attack speed. So it's a pretty big deal.
Kind of similar to the way his original passive worked, right?
Similar, yeah. So basically, what this means is you're almost constantly going to be spamming your abilities as long as you have mana anyway. You're going to use an ability, walk up, smack someone, use an ability, smack someone, use an ability, smack someone. And
yeah, I could see that.
It's actually pretty terrifying the amount of damage you do. So his Q...
Hold on, I want to pause you for a second. Have they released a patch balancing the rework yet, or is this still fresh out of PTR?
This is still pretty fresh, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they've reworked him yet again.
I'm sure that there will be balances. So enjoy it while you can.
Right. His Q is Starlight's Touch, which heals nearby allied champions based on charges stored. He can store up to 3 charges at any given time. One of his other abilities modifies how quickly he gets those charges back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his passive. When he uses his passive, it increases the recharge time on the stacks. The heal doesn't heal for a whole lot. It's mostly just a mechanism to hit people faster.
I see.
And it'll do just enough. A few times, I got teammates out of there with like 50 health because I healed them right before they took what would have been a fatal blow. His W is Bastion. Passively, what this does is increases his armor and any allied champion that has the Bastion effect on them. Actively, what it does is it shields an ally, and it grants them the Bastion effect for as long as they're near Taric. Any spell that he casts is also duplicated off of the ally with Bastion.
Wow.
So
that's some pretty high level stuff, right?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but basically what that means is his E, which I'll get into in just a second, is cast from both characters. His W cast from both characters. Even his ultimate is cast from both characters, which is actually really important, and I'll get into when I get there. So his E is Dazzle, and the description here is Taric radiates a beam of starlight that, after a brief delay, deals magic damage and stuns enemies. So basically what this is it's a skill shot. You can move while you're casting it, kind of like Lucian's Calling, and it takes about a second for the delay to go off, and after that it deals damage and stuns. If you have someone linked with Bastion, the skill shot will come from both champions in whichever direction you were casting. So your ally doesn't get to choose the direction separately. When you cast it, it comes from both of you.
So are both beams parallel, or do they converge to a point?
They'll converge if you're close enough for them to do so.
Okay.
So you can actually, if someone is tricky and has some movement, like we played against Yvain, if you are coming at her from either side, you can collapse them in towards her so that she can't roll to either side or anything like that. And we did that a few times.
Oh, interesting.
You can also use it, if you have an ally that's faster than you throw Bastion on them so that they're linked, and then you start the charge for Dazzle as they get close to someone, and watch the utter despair.
So that takes the place of his point-and-click stun from before, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. It's not as easy to land, but I do like the combined effect of having your ally cast it. It allows for some really out there plays, and as long as you and whoever you're linked to are in communication or have a decent idea of what you're doing, you can pull off some really next level shit. So his ultimate is Cosmic Radiance. It starts out at 2.5 seconds for a cast time. You can move while it's casting as well. And then it makes all allies in a circle around you invulnerable. And it starts out at a 2.5 second invulnerability. The other important thing, like I said earlier, is it also casts off of whoever you're linked to with Bastion. So you can cover your entire group very easily with this. And there were a few times where, running into a team fight, I would cast it right before we got there. The enemy team would blow their load when we couldn't take any damage, and then we just wiped the map with them.
So it's basically like a Kale ultimate, but better.
Pretty much. And
it's actually it's probably objectively better in every single way, I would imagine.
Yeah, other than the fact that it's not instant. That's really all there is to it. It lasts longer, it affects more people, and the range being able to cast it from two people is just it is a game-changing ult.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Wow. Yeah, especially from two people if you group up properly. Man.
There were several times also where I deliberately would turn around and run in with like 100 health at level 18 because I knew that I could get it off in time and steal kills that from people who thought they were going to get away. And I had the first game we played. Even though we did really well, we still lost. We had a couple of people on our team who fed pretty badly, unfortunately. Two people from the game messaged me and my brother afterwards from the other team, telling us that was fucking incredible. You should play with us.
Taric even garners respect from your enemies.
In the next game, their Lee Sin jungler was like, holy shit, Taric, next level plays. Can you, like, DC for about 5 minutes to even out bot lane?
Beg for mercy. Or no, have your enemies beg for mercy. Only with Taric.
So, yeah, that's really... That's the bulk of what there is to the new Taric rework, and obviously there's going to be balancing things that come out soon, so if you want to jump on this bandwagon, I'd suggest you get in here pretty soon and get a feel for it. I don't suspect they'll nerf him that much, because it'll probably be some timing, like extending the duration on the charge on his ultimate and stuff like that. But even if they do nerf him, he's still going to be a force to be reckoned with, and you can't argue with the character redesign as well. Another interesting thing here, if you have enough movement speed on Taric, he glides.
Wow.
So...
Wow.
Think of him, Dino, as Sigvald the Magnificent.
He truly is the Last of Us.
So... Now, I know we've been giving out a lot of high ratings in this episode so far.
Well, I mean, honestly, this is the best episode we've ever had.
It is
so
true.
Why wouldn't
it is true. Normally, I don't rate the things that League of Legends comes out with that highly. Like, if I was doing this for Aurelion Sol, I would rate it probably about a 5 out of 10, because I don't really, wasn't really happy with the way the kit came out, unfortunately.
Yeah, trash champion, garbage, useless. Never played.
This, I unequivocally rate a 10 out of 10.
Wow,
it is
really?
Beautiful, and you need to get on this.
Wow. Yes. Everybody who, all our undying legions of fans that I'm sure will listen to this in about a year and a half, whenever we've finally hit it big, make sure to get in on this very limited time window for the Taric rework patch where he is the strongest champion in League of Legends.
So that you can be timely and punctual like us.
You heard it here first.
So the other brief thing that I wanted to touch on is a new meme floating around on the intertubes.
Oh my goodness, I believe I know. Is it
Here he comes.
Is it that
it's
boy?
It's that boy.
Oh shit. What up?
What up? So
tell me how you're gonna rate this meme. Let's dive right into it.
So, now there's a lot that you can say about that boy.
Oh shit! What up?
First of all, he's a frog doing sick unicycle tricks, and how can you argue with that? I mean, if you put that on your resume, if someone turned a resume into me and told me that was them, I would be blown away.
Is me.
Oh shit! What up? So let me find this here. I found a really good description of that boy that I would like all of our listeners to hear. Where the funk is this? Okay, so this is a picture that one of my other friends sent me. It says that boy is the first meme born of itself. It is practically a-referential. The only even remote candidate for where it comes from, quote-unquote, is a really tenuous connection to we dem boys. But that doesn't explain the frogs or the unicycle or oh shit, what up. Yet somehow we all immediately process the joke. Even though there's no precedent, it's not uninterpretable. It's overflowing with instant humor. That boy is born without the original sin of any connection to the non-meme world. He is the meme Christ. He has come to save us all from the iniquities of our innate normiehood. This is the third era of human history, all because of Dat Boy.
Oh shit, what up?
And I think that is a beautiful description. And
This really is, without a doubt, the best meme to come out of the internet this year, for sure. Possibly even ever.
yeah, I don't, like, I thought for a while about what it is about Dat Boy that makes it so funny. I'm like, it's a frog on a unicycle. It's not, there's nothing to it, but it works, and
He really is perfect. He really is Dat Boy.
you know, I mentioned this to you before, Dino, but yeah, was sitting in my car thinking about life the other day, and yeah, some things kind of suck every now and again, but I thought to myself,
Well, let's be honest. A lot of things suck for us a lot of the time.
I didn't want to get too into a big cry fest here for our listeners, but yeah, that is pretty accurate. I was sitting in my car and I think to myself, just think of Dat Boy and everything will be okay. Those words seriously entered my mind.
And you know what? I bet they kept you going strong, didn't they?
I felt better.
Dat Boy is here for you.
So, again, another very high rating. Seriously, 10 out of 10 for Dat Boy. Dat Boy saves lives.
Definitely an 8 out of 8. Perfect score.
8 out of 8,
I
great
rate.
bait, mate.
Great bait, mate. I rate 8 out of 8.
Not irate. Time to masturbate.
If you haven't seen Dat Boy, or if he's not funny at this point, because this podcast, the first people to listen to this will be months from now. I'm sorry, but he's so important to us right now. Please don't ever leave.
Dat Boy will always be here for us.
He will always be there for us. So I believe it is about time to read up some questions from our listeners.
I do have a few questions from our listeners if you would like to hear them.
My God, this was just a joke segment. There's real questions from people who actually give a shit.
There are real questions from user DioBrando69. I have, do you like memes? And if so, which meme is your favorite? Kappa.
Do you like memes? Well, that's like asking a plant if it likes sun.
Or a fish
honestly.
if it likes water.
No doubt. Without memes, surely we would perish.
You could go so far as to say as we are meme machines.
Please don't do this. Honestly, memes are probably the best thing to come out of the internet in years, and they're simultaneously the least productive and worst thing that has ever happened ever.
That
and I
is
wouldn't
a
have
sadly
it any
accurate
other way.
description. As far as favorite memes go, I'm a sucker for the old memes. Like, I still like awesome.jpg, stuff like that, Advice Dog, things that haven't been relevant on the internet in like 5 years. And of course, as I just mentioned, Dat Boy, top-notch meme.
Well, as we all know, the nature of memes is strictly ephemeral. So, I'm sure in about a week, Dat Boy will be sick of him, no matter how much we praise him. But, just as it has been for every other meme, and so shall it be for every meme from now and forever. But, you know, I've always been partial to a good yee.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, you know, like you, I believe we both share the same passion for classic memes. You know, I like the rage face and the troll face. Those are definitely good memes.
Mm-hmm.
Without making this too fucking cringy, I think that we should go ahead and just finish this segment up.
Oh, but I do have a few more.
Oh, wow, more questions,
Yeah,
really?
I mean,
from actual people? Or
these are actual people who have asked these questions.
My God. Please
What
continue.
exactly kind of gay shit are you in search of?
What exactly kind of gay shit are we in search of? So, the whole entire premise of this podcast, lovely viewers out there in internet land, is to find the gayest shit. Now, some people may say that by applying the label gay shit to anything is... What's the word that the kids use today? Being a cisgendered cunt or something?
Yes. I believe that's what they call it now.
And I'm going to have to say that you need to check your privilege at the door because I identify as an Apache helicopter and you can't prove me otherwise.
I would agree with that, actually.
And that is exactly what In Search of Gay Shit
is all about. A couple more things here. Have you ever eaten a banana while making eye contact with another man?
I am actually 100% straight up truthfully. I am allergic to bananas unless if they are cooked. So, no, I haven't.
Yeah, I have not either, unfortunately, although it is on my list of things to do. I have here... do you enjoy Dat Boy? Obviously, you've already answered this question, but should put that out there. Oh shit, what up is clearly the only answer there. Another user asks, how dank am I? And this is Autumn asking. I'd say about 420 out of 69. Would you agree?
420 out of 69. What are Autumn's feelings about Dat Boy? I believe that would be, if we could get a straight answer from that would be exactly tell us where she lies.
She appreciates Dat Boy, but she doesn't.
That doesn't sound like live and die for Dat Boy. I'm gonna have to give her a 5 out of 10.
I can agree there.
Definitely lacking on the dank.
What is your favorite robot in video games?
Our favorite robot in video games? Well, I'm going to take a stand here and say that is a serious question. And go with... God, now that I've gone this far, I haven't actually thought about favorite robots. Shit. You answer first. I command it.
What robots are actually in video games?
See, that's the problem that I was having. There aren't enough. So many of them just pretend to be robots.
Metroid. I picked Metroid.
Please don't make me do this. Don't make me say it too. Yeah, honestly, I don't have a favorite robot. I guess I'm just gonna have to go with the meme answer and say Metroid also. Metroid's a pretty good robot. Haha, get it?
Another question. Jim Sterling...
Hold on.
Go ahead.
We have time for one more question.
One more, so I have to pick the best one?
You have to pick the best one. One more.
Okay.
That's it.
I think that this is probably the best one on here. Jim Sterling claims that he talked to every single person in the world when releasing his top 10 sexiest Mario characters video, but did he actually talk to you?
Again, timely and relevant. Yes, Jim came to my door. I believe you and I were actually living at the same place, and I called you down, and Jim asked us the question.
Yeah, he did, and we responded the exact same way, I believe.
Yeah, he gave us the bullet points for the list, and I was like, you know what, Jim, you sound like you put a lot of thought into it. I really appreciate you coming out here, but
when are you going to make a top 10 sexiest Mario characters video, you idiot?
Exactly. That's how that went down. I believe I remember that 100% accuracy. That's how those words go. All right, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it for the podcast. I believe that that's all we got for you lovely viewers today. Lane.
Yes.
Do you have any social media or repository of videos on the internet where anybody can find you at all?
Not yet, but if this is going to become a regular thing, then I suppose I will have to do that. I have my...
Do you have like a Twitter or YouTube?
I have
a Facebook?
I have a Facebook. It is my personal Facebook. At some point I will go ahead and actually make one more designated for these sorts of endeavors. I suppose I'll have to make a Twitter as well. Again, everything that I've got is just what I use to fuck around and bullshit on the internet rather than...
So as of this recording, Lane exists strictly as a phantom on the internet.
Clue number
Good
1,
luck.
the imposter is a phantom.
Again, my name is Dino Moore. You can find me over at youtube.com/vzpeasy. You can find me at twitter.com. You can find me at I've never done this before. This is so horrible. You can find me on Twitter at VZ_Peasy, all uppercase. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/go to. Please, Google, why is your website so horribly laid out? Stop it. There's nothing there. Anyway, don't go there. Just go to the Twitter one. It's the only place if there's anything. I believe that's it. That's all that we have today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, Lane?
Just throwing out there, as of the point that we make the next recording, I will have a Twitter and a YouTube put together just for specifics about this podcast. I may throw out a few other videos here and there. As I mentioned, I play guitar and I do some other goofy shit that you guys probably don't want to listen to, but I'm going to put up there anyway.
Awesome. Wonderful. That has been the podcast. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us on this journey. It's been an adventure. I look forward to doing this more.
We will see you again, probably never. Thank you very much.